My name is Marco Tabo, and you are watching The Big Issue. After several decades of waiting, Liverpool finally got their hands on the Premier League title, although the Merseyside Giants narrowly missed out on reaching 100 points. Jurgen Klopp's team for the 2019-20 campaign will go down as one of the most dominant in English history, having finished 18 points ahead of nearest challengers Man City. You would be forgiven for thinking that Liverpool would be able to defend the trophy with minimal fuse over the next 10 months. However, taking numerous things into consideration, that is absolutely contestable. Would Liverpool retain her Premier League title this season? Ugo Nwerigi is an ardent follower of politics, sports and entertainment enthusiast, Liverpool diehard fan, and of course he's here to say that Liverpool has the cup to keep even next season. Come on, Ugo, let's have you. You're welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Fantastic. All right, on the other hand, Emmanuel Chibuzo is also a sports journalist who loves everything sports. He loves Arsenal and Manchester City brand of football, and here to forecast that Liverpool will bid the trophy goodbye at the end of the season. Come on, Chibuzo, let's have you. All right, fantastic. All right, of course, this is a discussion I believe is going to cut across a whole lot of, people understanding the feeling that comes with the joy when it has to do with football. You know, sometimes the big issue tries to, take a bit of some slide into what people really desire. And this is one of the most dominant parts of our existence. And of course, especially in Nigeria, we love football a lot. So why not? Why can't we talk about it? Now, I begin first with Ugo, who is here to defend the motion that Liverpool definitely has what it takes to retain the title. Now, Ugo, in 250 games in charge of Liverpool, Klopp has won 153, drawn 58 and lost 39, leaving him with a win ratio of 61.2%. Now, based on this record, are you holding forth that this man will continue winning and he will keep sustaining his pedigree in the Premiership?
Thank you, Mark, once again. Thank you for having me here. Firstly, let's look at what they call a progression. When you have a progression in anything you're doing in life, it means that you're actually looking up and you're actually moving up. From when he came in some 5 years ago, he met a team that had players that were lackluster, that had
Rujic, yes,
you understand?
I recall.
And after that, he's now made some signings, took out some players, brought in some others, stabilized the ship. Look at the progression from losing 3 finals to get 3 finals, which was the epic one, which was when he lost to Real Madrid
Champions League.
in Champions League by 3-1. And there's one worthy of notes. All the finals that he lost by 3-1 against Sevilla, against Man City, and also against Real Madrid. And he looked at that and he stepped up his game, went in and made some more signings. And now he had a team that was able to beat Europe, win.
And we are seeing it, right? Like Chibuzo, look at what he has, look at the point he started with. The progression, he actually hammered very much on that. Now, taking into consideration that other teams are strengthening at the moment, we know that, Man City has strengthened. Chelsea also have spent over 25 million pounds thereabout, bringing in some signings, and of course, with some other businesses, with defenders trying to cover the loopholes here and there. Do you think that Liverpool has what it takes to retain the title, going by all of the stats around them?
There's a saying that those who kill by the sword will die by the sword. He talked about the progression. I think it's that same progression that he has altered and we come back to haunt him this time around. Why do I say this? Of all the signed who was over 26 was a certain Ragnar Klavan. The rest is history. He couldn't even play for Liverpool. Now you're bringing in a Thiago Alcantara to play. Thiago Alcantara, if you want to look at all the midfielders that have played for Klopp over the years, from Mainz 05 to Borussia Dortmund, where does he rate? What do you rank them? Klopp does not play with players who are very creative in the middle of the park. You go back to his days at Dortmund, Akangundoha is not a very creative player. You come to Nuri Sahin as well. The Liverpool setup, how creative are they going forward? No. They have a de facto system that allows the fullback to go all the way. Bringing a Thiago Alcantara to the team at this point in time means you have to alter the synergy of the team. You have to alter the play pattern of the team to accommodate him. And by so doing, it's going to take them another period of time for them to be able to adapt their philosophy to suit that man's style. So I think there's been a thought in their philosophy. You're talking about the process. He has altered that process, and that may even be one of the major reasons why Liverpool may struggle to retain the league. Both many other reasons, which at some point I'm going to touch them. But I think with that reason, Thiago Alcantara coming to that team has altered the philosophy of the Fairway Sports Group, the philosophy of signing players, which they've altered. And of course, I think this is going to come back to haunt them this season.
All right, thank you very much. Ugo, you heard him. Now, let's even take for instance that the pandemic actually came in to ruin quite a number of things, and clubs are considering financial, situations with signing players. Aside from Chelsea, who just went haywire, and people were wondering where you guys getting this money from. Did this pandemic not hit all of us? Now, he just made a very vital point. Now, you talked about progression, and progression has to do with consistency. Now, he said Jurgen Klopp has altered the consistency by bringing in a 29-year-old. How does that play out in the whole scheme of things?
I think what he failed to say is the fact that even while you're progressing, you're dropping some things by the side and you're picking up some new things. And at every point in time in life, there has to be changes. Henderson had injuries. He showed on the team.
Yeah.
There are lots of work, considering lots of goals. And he talked about getting another number 6 that could shore up the defense with Henderson. And Henderson always has a dead feet most times when he gets pushed. Look at what happened last time. Just a small push and he had a dead foot. Even in the last match we played, the first match we played, he had a dead foot also. So he thought about bringing someone else to shore up. And for your information, Thiago Alcantara, since he left Barcelona, has never played that major midfield role of being the link man between the midfield and the attack. He has always been a 6. And that's what he's playing, what he has been playing in Bayern before he came here. And that's exactly what he played for us when he came in here. He replaced our number 6, which was Henderson. So in a match where we need a number 10, yes, we might push him there. But when there's no number 10, he plays the 6. So we've not changed anything at all. It's just been the same thing. But the issue is this: he needed a backup for Henderson. He showed last season that without Henderson, there was a loophole in the team. So he needed a backup, and he brought the backup. So you're saying that he has altered the team. He has not. Now, let's check other teams that you're trying to call, the teams that you think can actually come and win the cup. We're talking about the Man Cities, the Chelseas, the Arsenals,
the
Tottenhams. Check the roll call. They've also bought players. The only thing Klopp has done was to check for loopholes and plug those holes. He has not changed the winning team at all. The Liverpool starting 11, you can predict it every time. Can you predict the Chelsea starting 11 from last season? Can you predict the Man City starting 11 from last season? Not even Man U. They've all tweaked things. The Liverpool starting 11 still started the same way, just one new player was infused. The other players that have bought are still on the bench. Those are fringe players that are coming for all them, because this season Liverpool is going for all the cups. So they said, okay, let's beef up and shore up the team so that we can have that. So if you think shoring up the team is the problem, then I don't understand. Progression, you need to drop some dead legs and move on with some new ones.
Thank you very much. Now, you saw he made a very vital point that Liverpool just showed up and they just plugged, areas where they had loopholes. Now, he mentioned other teams buying, but he could say of a real fact that these guys have not had a consistent team, and we can actually attest to that. Chelsea doesn't have a consistent 11. Lampard keeps tweaking from time to time, and sometimes you wonder what is he doing. Man United, the same thing. You wonder what's going on. The same thing with Tottenham Hotspur as well. Well, we understand that Bale is back now, and we hear that Bale, Son, and Harry Kane might spearhead the attack, which would be very formidable going forward in the Premiership. But of course, you can't take away the injury concerns for Bale as a player, as an individual. Now, with everything he has said, how do you come with your argument that Liverpool will not want to retain that title?
Well, I said earlier when I started talking about they're trying to plug in a hole where there is no hole. Now, you brought in a Thiago Alcantara, who is a like-for-like kind of player with Jorginho Wijnaldum, who is still very much in the team. He hasn't left the team yet. Yeah. Now, like I said, bringing a Thiago into the team also means you have to alter the system of the team in a way to accommodate him.
But you are aware that Wijnaldum might be going to Barcelona.
Now, the coach has given his word that the guy has assured him he's not going. Now, yet, like I said, the major reason for this, I can call it a panic buy in the sense that after what happened to them against Leeds United in the first game, a team that has not Premier League football for the past 16 seasons, they came into the season and at some point they were 2-1 up. In fact, the game ended 4-3, if not for that silly error from Rodrigo. Exactly. So for a team who they had no Premier League experience, none of the player of any sort. Patrick Bamford, their top striker, is a Chelsea reject who caused problem for them. Now, bringing in that guy into the team is also, like I said, you have to play to accommodate and to play to his strength. Now, the big question is, the club wants to do something good, yes, for the team. Sometimes when you have a new wife or a new girlfriend, there's this excitement you have. The fans are all greeting you, your friends are going to hail you. Liverpool fans are all excited because they brought in a Thiago Alcantara at the moment. But like I keep saying, they don't need Thiago Alcantara in this team for them to do something meaningful. I think the major places where they need to plug in the hole, they are not even plugging the hole. We've always talked about, what if there's an injury to Salah, Mane, and Firmino? Who do you have on the bench? Origi, Brewster, and who? Jones. Come on, these guys cannot even play the Carabao Cup against an Aimba best 11. Now, you go to the defense, they let a certain Dejan Lovren leave the team last season. He has left. Who do you have on the bench for them? You have a Joe Gomez and Joel Matip. Now, for the records, for the Liverpool fans who are forgotten to see this fact, No outfield player in the Premier League since 2018-2019 has made more errors than Virgil van Dijk. No outfield player in the Premier League has made more errors leading to a goal than Virgil van Dijk. 2018-2019 season alone, Alisson Becker made 3 errors that led to goal. So there are so many lacunas in that team, which some teams have failed to exploit. Why? Because perhaps they are star-struck with Salah, Mane, and Firmino. Now, of course, Van Dijk has showed us time and over again that he's not the paces of defenders. People have not exploited him. And of course, they have to now look for an alternative to put a stop to their de facto 10s, talking about Arnold and the Robertson. So I keep saying, bring in 9 goals and 8 assists. Now let me take him down to Stamford Bridge. A certain player called Olivier Giroud played just 18 games and scored 8 goals, compared to a player who played 38 games and scored 9 goals. Come on, your primary work is to score goals and not to tell me you are getting other players involved. Now Liverpool are trying to plug that hole up. They need real players up front. Salah and Mane, people forget there's a cold war going on between these two guys for the battle of who is the best in Africa.
Absolutely.
Which their fans are not seeing.
Absolutely.
So I think these two guys, there's a soft war and a cold war going on between these two guys. Liverpool need to now get an alternative goal-scoring route. Now, Jota can have a good season for Wolverhampton Wanderers, but Wolverhampton Wanderers is not Liverpool. The style of play and the philosophy is not a big deal. For Jota in Wolverhampton Wanderers, there's no pressure for them to win the league. There's no pressure for them to win the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. But in Liverpool, the stakes are high for you. Now, we saw a certain Jadon Shaqiri who has all the creativity in the world. He cannot factor into that Liverpool team. Last season, he had just 7 games and 1 assist to his name. Now, he has been there all season. Injuries have not really helped his cause. Of course, we know Jurgen Klopp's philosophy of training has also not helped some of the players. Down to injuries, Lallana is one of them. We also have the guy I just mentioned right now. So if he comes in, now, Joel Matip and Joe Gomez, we know how these guys can be. Of course, Van Dijk has shown us time and over again that when put under pressure, he's going to bottle up and, of course, crack. The question is, are the Premier League defenders and teams going to exploit them? The midfielders don't have the athleticism on their feet anymore. Why don't they exploit this lacuna? So there are so many places where you can plug and exploit Liverpool team if only some teams
can just
have what it takes.
Vigilant.
Exactly, to exploit them. Their fans have been saying, Man City struggled to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers. 2 seasons ago, we know how the Jurgen Klopp ran the length of the breadth of the pitch when they scored a winning goal in the 92nd minute to beat Wolverhampton Wanderers and ended for 4-3 or thereabout. So Wolverhampton Wanderers on their day is a thorn on the flesh to any team. Man City, I keep saying, they didn't play with their best 11 on the night. There was no Akan Gundogan, there was no Sergio Kun Aguero, there was no Aymeric Laporte, and of course, there was no Bernardo Silva. And yet, they have to win in whatever fashion, 3-1 for Liverpool. I think they're only papering the cracks of where there's no hole. The major problem is they have not been attended to.
All right.
Up front and at the back line.
All right. My brother, look, he has spilled it and he has spilled it open. He says if teams are not vigilant enough, there's a likelihood that Liverpool might just run away with this, coded scheme. It's looking like a scam. But you are a diehard Liverpool supporter. Do you agree with all these factors he has wrote about? You cannot excuse the fact that he's spilling some truth.
Yes, he's spilling some truth, sir. And when you're at the top, everybody's looking at you. So I know he has the right to look at us and try to aspire to get to the top. But we are at the top. It's easier for us to see those under and understand how we can work with them.
Right.
So yeah, you have the right to look at us. Now, he talked about the fact that VVD has been error prone. Now, you know why they notice his errors? Because it makes them very few and far wider. So whenever he makes one, everybody hears about it. But other defenders in other clubs make those errors every day and in and out, so you don't talk about it. So if he makes one error in like 10 matches, everybody screams. At the point in time,
it's a record for him.
Somebody dribbled him and said, yeah, I dribbled VVD. Come on, you dribble defenders every day. How come you don't shout about them?
Exactly.
But when he got dribbled, people shouted. That shows.
He even trended.
You understand? That shows how good he is.
Yes, how
so
good
coming
he is.
from that point, yes, thank you for
now, you can't take away that
understand.
part, you can't take away that part.
Now, okay, going back to the fact he was talking about Jota, Wolves they play a high pressing game, and that's why Liverpool always finds it difficult to play against them. Talking about Leeds also that I talked about, the first match we played. Marcelo Bielsa started the high-pressing game. Everybody learned it from him. Everybody. He took Chile to go and win the CONCACAF Copa America lots of times. I think like twice back to back. Because that's his game. That's what he plays. So everybody learned it from him. And that's what he instilled in the Leeds team. So they came to Liverpool with what? That same high-pressing game, enthusiasm. And you cannot beat a coach that knows his onion about your style of play. A coach that invented the play, it was difficult. But still, the gambit of being the champion still prevailed and we still won the match. What does it take to win the league? Being able to cross the line. We crossed that line and we won that match. Now, going forward, let's talk about the buying philosophy of Liverpool. The Fenway Group, since they came in 2010, they've had this philosophy of not buying anyhow.
Yeah.
Before they buy, they sell. Trying to, Americans are shrewd businessmen, balance the book. You don't buy because you want to buy. You can't just go out and buy 10 of club, has seen a crack and they decide to pull it through. You're talking about Thiago Alcantara not being the listen. He played his first match. Check the rare reviews. In one half, he had made more passes than anybody has ever made in one half.
The most completed passes.
Most completed passes of anybody has ever made in any Premier League match. And that's just his first match. He has not settled down. You understand? And you're telling me such a player didn't plug a crack? Come on.
That's just his first match. He has not settled down yet. Of course, we are still on this debate, as a matter of fact. We are going to go on this break. And when we return, we have the debaters tell us more. If you're just joining us, this is still the big issue. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still the big issue. Would Liverpool be able to defend the English Premier League title at the end of the season? Emmanuel and Ugo are here to dig into the conversation. And of course, you've been listening to diverse views from both men. And I must tell you, this is more than just sports entertainment in itself. Now, quickly, Uzo, let's be very swift with having what we are talking about right now. We know that certain teams have started recruiting. Jose Mourinho is a winning manager. You cannot take anything away from the fact that he is this man who has shown that no matter the pressure, somehow he gets things done. In his last interview that I watched, he did say that I want a balanced team. Now, who would ever think that Dele Alli would be exactly. Now, under Jose Mourinho, it's beginning to get so vivid that some of these players are actually not up to par. Whether hype or some kind of cover or a manager who just loves them, just keeps fielding them. These guys have not been showing. Even Tanga Ndombele also has come into question with his attitude on the pitch, except for some moments when he pulls off some magic. Now, Jose Mourinho has gone all out for Gareth Bale, who is also another winning player. But the only concern and the only clause on Gareth Bale is his injuries. Do you think, with the kind of army Jose is recruiting at the moment, they will be able to give Liverpool a chase?
They should have been able to give them a chase, but of course the work is not complete yet. They also got Sergio Aguilera from Real Madrid or so.
That's a fantastic player too.
United turned him down from the buyback clause inserted from Real Madrid. But of course, I keep saying, when Mourinho accepted this deal to work for Tottenham Hotspur, I questioned it. Why? Because of the person in charge running the team, Daniel Levy. We know how shrewd he is as a businessman. Yeah. Doesn't dole out the cash to buy in players. But of course, you look at the backline of the Tottenham Hotspur team. Who do they have at the back line? Toby Alderweireld is there, Jan Vertonghen. These guys are they've passed their prime. Now you need players who can show up the back line for you. Reguilon is going to come in, Ben Davies goes back to the bench. Of course, they don't want their former left back Danny Rose anymore in the team. Now you have to show up the back line. We know Mourinho's team over the years have been primed on his defense. You go back to his days as FC Porto, they had the likes of Ricardo Carvalho, all of them, they were all there, Douglas Costa, and they were all there. You go to Inter Milan, Materazzi, Walter Samuel, and the rest of them. You come to Chelsea.
Defensive general.
John Terry and the rest of them, Carvalho. For me, I keep saying that Chelsea team, my best defender was Carvalho. But of course, the British media will always project John Terry for you. Now you now come to Tottenham Hotspur. Who do they have at the back line? Now, I won't. It's not yet to voodoo for them.
But you cannot take out the fact that when Carvalho left, John Terry stepped up and he did amazingly well.
He grew with time. But we know the British press saying he's the best defender.
But you cannot excuse John Terry's quality.
No, I can't.
I will fight you here now.
In the Premier League era, you are not too good, so I cannot fight you. In the Premier League era, you can say he's the greatest defender in the Premier League era of all time. Top goal scorer of all time among defenders. But of course, coming back to Jose Mourinho and his team, I think he has to show up the back line first. Hugo Lloris any day, anytime can be one of the best goalkeepers, not the best. But of course, what he has going forward for him at the moment, Harry Kane, Son Heung-min, Gareth Bale has come in these days. His manager, Jonathan Bennett, was saying with what he did for Real Madrid in the last 7 years of his career, that the Madrid fans should be kissing the ground whenever he walks. Of course, he actually went on to say he's the greatest British player of all time, which is packing a whole lot of argument everywhere. He has won 4 Champions League trophies. He won the 2 La Liga titles. Now, with all these guys, you mentioned of the fact that he's prone to picking up injuries. If he stays fit, Harry Kane stays fit, and the rest of the guys, there's also Bergwijn very much in the mix as well. If you have those guys very much in the mix, and you add just one more, they have creative players. Lamela is very much in the mix as well. They have to show up the backline first, which is paramount. Without the backline, you're going to be scoring more goals. Like Leeds United will concede more goals. It's a matter of who scores more. So I think I will not put them in the discussion to rescue the league with Liverpool. They are not. They will cause upset. They're already in the top 6. They will cause upset to some of the big teams.
So who is your main joker?
Manchester City.
Man City. Now, Ugo, he has spilled it. Apparently, this man wanted to go to Man City, but he went through all the whole rigmarole, and I actually put him up with that. But now you understand that City also is not a team you want to show aside. Now, Guardiola has shown that, well, if it looks like it's a curse that I will not win the Champions League, I will not let this Premiership title slip ever again. Now, with what he's doing presently at Man City, well, we understand that John Stones has come into question a lot of times, but the last game, the British media have come up with some hype again to say it seems like John Stones is gradually picking up, and of course, we know how they do these things. After 5-6 games, he could relapse again. But Nathan Ake, another fantastic defender from Bournemouth, but he doesn't have that height advantage, but he has what it takes going forward, playing the ball on the ground as Pep Guardiola would want it. Do you think all these factors would give Liverpool headache?
Talking about Liverpool and headaches, I think the headache is only for the coach. All he does is he takes every match like this is just a match. This is the match I'm playing. You ask him about the next match and say, no, we have to get through this match. So every match is actually his final. So that headache is for the jogging club to work out. And what he does on a normal day, every day he plays with the big 6. What does he do? He winds up the coaches. He has this way of winding up coaches. And when you start shouting, he goes back and relaxes and look at you and like, come on, I was only talking about the issues, not about you. And he does that on a regular. That's why most coaches always have issues with him. But when he comes back to the press, he'll tell them, no, you guys are just misquoting me. And he does that on a regular. That's part of what I'm going to have to bring out, the jogging club factor. He does that on a regular. Every major top 6 coach that comes against him, he will wind you up on this thing, come back and tell you, but I wasn't saying anything.
Now, so, going by that conversation you just had right now, he came out openly to accuse Frank Lampard of buying players, and he went as far as saying
he refuted that.
Well, you can say that again. You can say that again, but he said something. He said clubs that are owned by oligarchs and politicians and powerhouses, this is what happens. They just buy players, they just go all out, but we are a team, we are not into that kind of a system. But he suddenly forgot that while he came into the Premiership, he also went for big buys, he went for big names as well, and he has gotten him, and look, he coughed out a chunk for Virgil van Dijk. And you could imagine now, do you think he was only trying to upstage Frank Lampard or unsettle him, knowing fully well that these qualities he was bringing in, if they gel, it might be trouble for him?
There are two different things in life whenever you are trying to address something, a problem. You can either address the issue or address the personality. When you address an issue, the personality comes into the issue, you're not addressing the personality because the issue had to be sorted out. He was only trying to test. People were coming out there, okay, you have to buy after. And he told them, see, we can't buy like every other club is buying. Peradventure, he mentioned some stuff that had to hit at some other clubs, which he was not wrong in mentioning, but he was not hitting out personally at anybody. And that's what he does. He goes at issues, but everybody comes back, gets wind up, and starts discussing. And one thing about this game, when a coach gets angry, he loses it because he's not in the right frame of mind to make decisions in the field of play. And that's what Jockey Club doesn't do. He never gets angry on the field of play. No matter how wind up, he will go back, talk to his guys, come back, and continue the game. While the other coaches start shouting and making noise, forgetting about what they're supposed to do on the field of play. So his utterances were about issues. And go and check the issues he has highlighted. That's the same thing he did. Now check the buys that they made. The buys that were made. Thiago Alcantara, £30 million. How much was paid? 5 million. Diego Jota, how much was paid? 4 million. Every other thing will be paid over a period of time. Not forgetting that issues, not talking about personalities. When you put the personalities there, you get wound up. He continues his game and goes ahead. So that's a factor that Jurgen Klopp brings to the Premiership. One of the only coaches that never gets wound up by anybody.
It's Alisson Becker from AS Roma. He spent £75 million to get Virgil van Dijk.
Roma,
combine these two together, club. And of course, we know what they have spent. Now, of course, it has paid. Like I said, they had a philosophy of buying players who they expect to all climax and plateau at the same time, which they did. The last 2-3 seasons has been mesmeric for them. They've done their best.
Thank you very much.
I'm not looking for your compliment. Yes. Just to say they have been spending money, but they look at other people to hit at. Now for Chelsea have never gone this all out in the market to sign since Roman Abramovich took over the club in 2003-4. When Mourinho came in, he brought all the Jokos of this world, Jeremy and G-Tabs, and the rest of them, Carvalho and the rest of them. Now, you may mention of the fact that they sold Eden Hazard for over £100 million. Now, let's not forget that they were serving a transfer ban last season. Yeah. So they didn't spend any money. So they still have a pool of cash to dip their hands into. Yeah. Not even looking at the Eden Hazard money. So imagine the Eden Hazard money being brought forward, the pool of cash they didn't touch because they were serving a European ban. They brought everything together. So they have a whole chunk to do that. So if you look at what they've actually spent, looking at how much they've taken away the Eden Hazard money away, what have they really spent? They've not spent off the £150 million. So they still have more cash to dole out the cash. Yes, I've questioned Frank Lampard's pedigree. I keep saying Frank Lampard, just like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they've done the best they can do for these club sides. They don't have the technical know-how to take this club to the next phase of their life. Now, if Frank Lampard were to be another manager, not British, he would have lost his job. All the sentiment of young players, the average age of the Chelsea team was about 23.5 last season. So Lionel Messi at 22 already had the Ballon d'Or. About 2 of them. So
can you compare some of these players to the god of football?
This whole theory of they are young boys. They are not 17 and 16. The average age about 23.5, about 24 years of age. The whole team. So the whole theory of Tammy Abraham and Fikayo Otomode, they are the only 2 players who came with him from Derby County. Of course, Abraham has been with Derby on loan. So I keep saying he brought them back. The British press does not speak too much about the Chelsea team because he's an Englishman managing the team, and Frank Lampard has brought in so many that he has been given a rope to hang himself. Now, the question is, can he put away the sentiment of I'm an Englishman? I've been saying he has been auditioning for the English national team job by making Mason Mount a regular in that team.
Absolutely.
Then when it comes to hold-up play, there's no other striker that does it better than Olivier Giroud in the world.
When it comes to hold-up play, there's no other striker that does it better than Olivier Giroud. Then we have to go for that break. You heard them, definitely. This is still the big issue, and wherever you are, we are not done yet because obviously we might just be taking this conversation straight to the virtual, platform to have, some feedbacks from our audience. If you're just joining us, this is still the big issue. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still the big issue. As a matter of fact, it's time for the members of the audience to ask questions and maybe contributions to what we're talking about, because I know wherever they are right now, they could be hurt because their club apparently has gone under the knife with the conversations coming from these amazing individuals. But I have Marvelous standing by at the moment. Marvelous, can we have you quickly?
I'd like to say that Liverpool is a very strong squad. They've competed with the best of the best, like they've beaten Man City a couple of times. They did so well in the Super Cup, in the World Club Championship. They've done exploits, and we know that they really deserve this last Premier League. But will they win this one? I doubt that. Why do I say so? It is because Liverpool has failed to spend in the transfer window. One thing about players is that players love competition. They love to be challenged. They love when new people come in and then they have to up their game. But Klopp has failed to do that. Their coach Klopp has failed to do that. He has spent 0 or nothing in the transfer window. And one of the best coaches in the world, people like Wenger, people like Alex Ferguson, they always go to transfer window every season to change players, to spend more, to strengthen their squad. But Klopp has failed to strengthen his club. So my main question is, if Klopp has failed to strengthen the Liverpool squad, how can Liverpool win when it's the same tactics that they are bringing from the previous season to this season? So how do they plan on winning the Premiership when other clubs are spending more and getting results, and they have decided to just use the same tactics and the same players for previous season to this season?
Thank you very much, Marvelous.
Yes, everybody is a pundit. Everybody can discuss this, and like I said, your decisions and what you say is yours. But still on the field of play, so far so good. Liverpool has still not lost any match for a long while, and shows they're still on the up. You might say they're just grinding out wins, but what is it about winning? Win is a win. Even if it's half a goal.
3 points is 3 points, no matter how you get it.
And that's what they did. Now, I had him telling me, I'm talking about the fact that we're bringing in number 10. For a long while, Liverpool has not played the 10. In natural 10, we'll play 2-6 or sometimes 2-8. So we've not had a natural 10, a real ball winner, a real playmaker that pushes the ball since the times of Coutinho. Lallana could have pushed in there, but Lallana at a point after his injury started having problems.
Setbacks.
Now, what did Klopp do? Klopp started out with a squad in 2015 when he came in. Just eight matches into the league, Brendan Rodgers was sacked. And he had a team of who? Let me read out for you. Minole, Klein, Sacco. That was the first match that he played. Yeah. Sacco. What they call him, Sketel. 2. And number 3 was this young chap from Moreno. Then he also had the likes of Lucas, Coutinho, Emre Can. Lallana and Milner were the only 2 players that lasted till last season. So what he did was, there was this progression of taking out all the players more like dead legs, the dead woods, taking them out season after season until he achieved what he achieved, the meanest feat he achieved last season.
In fact, I must confess, when I actually went over his first lineup at Liverpool, yes, I really felt for him as a manager.
So you can understand what he had to go through. Yeah. And with that, while he has been able to move that thing, and what does he do? He does not buy like 10, 15 players at the same time. He goes piecemeal by piecemeal, change the team. You can't just wake up today and decide that you want to cook rice and you take rice and everything out of the meal. No, it's no more rice. You need to reap the rice there. Maybe before you were using this seasoning, you change to another seasoning. You were using this condiment, you change another condiment, trying to see how you can better the taste and not make it boring again.
Absolutely.
That's what Klopp has been doing. He doesn't want to change a full squad because it's going to be problematic. And that's what is happening to most other clubs. So what has he done? He looks for the places where he thinks he needs to plug, and he plugged. What did he do? He got a Takamino.
Yeah.
Young chap. He's still going to come through very soon. He's trying to adapt to the season. After that, he got Tsimikas, the Greek god, to come and serve as the number 3 for Robertson. Next again, he got in Thiago Alcantara as under 6 to show up the dead foot that whenever we have a problem with Henderson, yeah, he can continue the game. Then he looked at it. Our attacking force has for some time felt that they were all in all and there was nobody. Yes, Origi used to come in, he's a big time player. He comes in the big matches and makes a difference. So he looked at it, he brought in a Diego Jota, somebody who has been magnanimous in pushing the Wolves team. Yeah. A serious predator, someone that understands what it means to walk from defense to the attack. Box to box player. Yeah. And he brought him into the game and said, okay, let me show up. So when people say we have not spent or we have not worked, it's not about spending. It's about bringing the right players at the right place at the right time and not changing a winning team. You don't break, like he was saying, you don't break the whole house when you can only fix a crack.
Thank you very much. Now, before you attack him, let's look at Arsenal, because it's looking like we're taking them out of the equation, which would cause war after we finish this show, because I know Arsenal fans will come heavy on us. But we know that Mikel Arteta also has proven yet again that he has what it takes. He's been able to take out a big man player like Mesut Ozil out of the sequence, and he just wants to maintain his dressing room. He doesn't want anything whatsoever to interrupt with his dressing room. And so far, he went for Willian, and Willian so far has been pulling it off, having a Pepe on the bench. Now, do you think Mikel Arteta is not someone we should ignore? I mean, do you think it's somebody we should watch because he's like a man who is so slick coming from behind to do the job?
First off, I think we should not ignore him so I don't lose my thoughts on the Liverpool.
Okay.
I heard him call Tsimikas the Greek god. In the history of football, there's just one Greek god, Kostas Manolas. The Barca fans can know him, can remember him very well. And of course, in the history of teams who have defended the Premier League title over the years, in fact, in the last decade, just one team have done that, Man City 2018-2019 when they did it. Before then, it was Man United 28-29. Now, the problem those teams had over the years was one thing. After they won the league, the next season, their reinforcing of the team was their Achilles heel. They didn't do the right kind of business. Nobody's asking Liverpool to overhaul the team. Okay. We're only asking them, look at the places where there are cracks, paper the cracks, bring in the right personnel. Now, we have not mentioned this fact. For the Liverpool team, there's another thing of motivation. How motivated will these guys be going forward? They've seen it all. Champions League final, they've won it. The Club World Cup, they've won it. The Premier League. The extra motivation,
the law of diminishing returns could set in, right?
To set in, that is the word. Right. So I think nobody's asking them to overhaul the team. Back to Arsenal. Because Arteta has done something with Arsenal fans. You keep asking them questions. What do they really want in life? Okay. Now, they always want a manager who will play the Arsene Wenger way. Arteta has come. I don't care about the possession. I don't care about winning 35 corner kicks. All I want is I have to set up my team in such a way that we can hit on the break.
All right, hit on the break. Let's quickly move to our audience right now. Let's have our next guest on the virtual platform.
I would like to say, he said Liverpool has actually signed You guys don't have a deep line midfielder, a natural ball winner, and you don't have a natural 8, like an attacking midfielder that can actually pluck out the holes and make things happen. So what can you say about that?
Most times Liverpool don't even have a number 10 that's supposed to help him pushing the ball from someone that carries the ball from the midfield to the attack, someone that treads those passes. That's what we don't have. As of having defensive, sometimes we play with 3-6. Yeah, Klopp might decide to say he's playing with 2-6 and a number 8, but we know that sometimes in a game where you play a Wijnaldum, you play a Henderson, and you also play Fabinho, you're playing 3-6. Yeah, those players can adapt to move forward. Yeah, lots of time, Gini Wijnaldum goes up front to make some killer goals, score some well-needed goals, but he's not a number 10. In the Dutch team, sometimes they play him as 10, but in Liverpool, he plays as a 6. So if you talk about, the only issue is the fact that sometimes, because of the fact that our players are always pushing forward, they tend to leave the back line. And that's why we brought in Thiago Alcantara that can sit back at that number 6. If you watch the game that Liverpool played, all his passes were from outside the box. You never saw him once inside the box. Go and check the stats. But in any game we play, you will see Henderson inside the box. You see Wijnaldum inside the box. Every other, most of our players, you see them run inside the box. You rarely see a Thiago Alcantara in the box. He's there behind in case there's any mess. And we watch, even the penalty he conceded, the average Liverpool player will have left that guy walking to go and score. But what did he do? He put his body on the line. If by mistake he doesn't score, yes, it was a penalty. What happened? It was saved. What if he didn't put his body on the line? The guy had a free chance to take that shot. He might have scored. So he knows what to do to stop the game, which is something also that Fabinho does. So you saying that we don't have a number 6, I think that's wrong. We do have those guys that could show up.
Thank you very much. So if you're saying Chelsea might not be in the equation, with Man United, with what is happening at Man United at the moment and Chelsea, who would you rate above? Who would you rate higher?
I'll put Arsenal ahead of them.
Arsenal ahead of
with what Arteta is doing, yes.
Okay.
Because, of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, like I mentioned earlier, I think I put him in the same bracket, in the same conversation with Frank Lampard.
So you're telling me Arteta is much miles ahead of Lampard?
In terms of, yes, reading the game, technicality of the game. Yes, I think he's better. I think Ole had done what he could do, stable the ship when Mourinho left the team. He has stabilized the team. I think he doesn't even know that he had to also plug the hole at the back, which is the first thing first to do. Now, Donny van der Beek was not even a third option for them. Van der Beek has already agreed terms, those who remember, with Real Madrid last year. But of course, it did not go through. Something happened. It was a certain bastard to call him. Let me just go to somewhere. So you are plugging a hole where there is no hole. So for Man United, that back line of Lindelof and Harry Maguire, come on. There's nothing, the way that they're aspiring to Maguire, something that they just have to find somewhere to bring a proper centre back to plug the hole, which they have failed to do. They had Gideon at their beck and call to sign at the left back. So right now, if that guy gets injured, look, sure, we all know how he's prone to injuries. Who do they have? Brendan Williams to come in there. I think I'm not putting them in the conversation because the manager is still there. They have players who can compete for the league, who should be able to ruffle feathers to the top guys up there.
But they don't just seem like a player that can cut it.
It's the manager. I think the manager doesn't know what to do, what he needs in the team. Just like Frank Lampard, the players they brought in for Chelsea are decent players that should be able to also ruffle feathers. But come on, I think the manager also needs, like I keep saying, the technical know-how. Does he have what it takes to mold those guys together and put them into a formidable unit? That's a big question for me.
Well, you can also not take out the fact that presently Benchwell is here now. We have Thiago Silva in the club now at the moment. The only loophole they seem to have is that goalkeeper, which has been really much of a problem from last season. We saw the error against Liverpool. And with the fact that Thiago Silva, who is a proper centre-back with that motivation, we understand what happened. PSG lost 2 games back-to-back when Thiago Silva left PSG. We could see that the leadership at the back in PSG also is missing, and he's bringing that to Chelsea. Don't you think that can play a role for Lampard?
We can aspire here that when Thiago Silva comes in, he's going to do this. He's 35, 36. Let's not forget. He doesn't have his best years ahead of him.
But he's still very active. If he wasn't active, they wouldn't go out for him.
Already Kai Havertz and Timo Werner already complaining about, Havertz was talking about the bulky defenders he saw at Brighton and Hove Albion. Welcome to the Premier League. Now, talking about Thiago Silva, let's not forget, Chelsea signed a player called Robert Huth during the time of Jose Mourinho. Big, bulky guy. He came to Chelsea. He could not cut it at Chelsea. But he went to Leicester City. He won the league with them, became even a mainstay right there. So most times, you can sign decent players to come into your team, and they can't cut it in your club, not because of how the manager chooses to use them.
But you can't tell. You can't tell that already,
but
because you're already forecasting doom for them.
I'm not
and he has not even played a single game.
He doesn't have to play. It's taking him 4 days, 5 days to train, to play. And of course, Liverpool fans,
Liverpool
fans are saying
the lockdown
only
rules and the progression is playing
Liverpool
out as
fans
well.
are saying that Thiago only trained for 2 hours to play Liverpool, to play Chelsea and give 75 passes. But I keep saying, Chilwell already has Premier League experience. My problem is these guys have to stay fit. I have a question mark already surrounding Thiago Silva, owing down to his age. We know how pacey the Premier League can be. We know how physical it can be. Yes, these are all the some factors you have to put into perspective. Now you have Fikayo Tomori, who you wanted to give out at some point. You also have a certain Kodzuma. You have Christensen, and of course Rudiger is also there. Now how does Frank Lampard? I keep saying, does he meld them together?
How would he harmonize them?
Put them together and form a formidable unit. The question is how much more? How can he even trust him? Another question, taking back to Liverpool, does Klopp have the trust to allow Jota a free role up front with the top 3 guys if he's not in the Premier League? Will he want, on today's game, because of formation, let me put Salah or Mane on the bench and throw this guy?
I think he would.
I think sometimes you have to entrust these players, if you have brought them in, entrust them to deliver the goods for you. Now, if he doesn't have the trust in them...
But you are quite aware that he would not want to anger his 2 major players, because
it's not about angering his tactics.
When you pull these players back, you make them feel like, look, they are not part of your plans. Before you know it, offers from other clubs will start enticing them.
It's down to tactics. Now, for the 2014 World Cup final, Germany won the World Cup.
You said it here yourself that Mohamed Salah and Sané are jostling for powers in African football.
Exactly.
Are you telling me if you drop one of them, there won't be problems?
Then let me answer you by asking a question. Did they call the shots at Liverpool?
Come on. You said something.
Do they call the shots at Liverpool?
They don't call the shots.
There's something they call player power in football these days, where players in a way decide or dictate what happens. Rumors have it that Barca, to sign players, they need to consider Messi first. Does Messi wants the player? Now, if they don't call the shot, and the coach has the tactics he wants to employ. Come on, 2014 World Cup, the German team were to play a match in France, and the French coach saw the line, Joachim Löw saw the lineup, and they went to meet Mertesacker, who is about the assistant captain of the team. I said, because of the team we want to play, they want to exploit us through pace. I want to keep you on the bench. The guy said, coach, you call the shot, no problem. He kept him on the bench. So
is that not a different ball game, Ugo? Isn't that a different ball game?
No,
he
it's
said
the same
something
thing.
now that Sané and Mohamed Salah are looking forward to having the power play in the African continent. Yeah. And he's saying dropping one of them could be a tactics by the coach. Would you adhere to that?
No, as a coach, I'm not going to drop any of them. I think it makes for healthy rivalry.
Okay.
The fact that they are going neck to neck, for the juggler, both of them going together.
Healthy for the team.
It's healthy for the team because they are all trying to score. The first match, what happened? A brace by Mohamed Salah. The second match, Manik stepped up, a brace by... So it's healthy. For every time you ask Klopp, for every time you ask Klopp about that there's a problem between Mane and Salah, what does he say? So I don't see anybody, I don't see any problem. Nobody did not come to me. I think I like what they're doing. And now if you notice, even at any point in time you see Mane angry on the field of play, what does he do? He pulls him out and lets Salah continue. He doesn't want you to have, it's a healthy rivalry. For him, the adrenaline punch, that surge that comes into them helps them to aspire to do better on the field of play. Look at Rooney. If you hustle Rooney up, you wind him up, he plays better, he scores those massive goals. And that's what is good. If you're not pumped, you talked about motivation. That's motivation right there.
Sometimes, Mark, you
that's
also
motivation
have to know that
right
these
there.
teams also allow these players.
So that's motivation right there.
Sometimes these players also want to be a part of the system. If I come into a club and I know that there's no way in hell I can crack up Salah, Mane, and Firmino, I just become like a peripheral figure in the team. Sometimes it's also for fatigue. Let this person rest for the first half.
But you are making a case for a player who saw the club he was going to.
See,
he knew the competition there.
Sometimes these players go there for the monetary purpose.
So who is to blame? Are you going to blame the player?
I keep saying, I'm not supporting your club, my brother. I'm here trying to give you reason why they might not retain the league, because the manager will not want to entrust Jota to start ahead of any of these 2 guys. Sometimes it should have been healthy for the 2 guys.
Okay.
But most of the coach does not have whatever. That's why I keep saying these 2 guys don't call the shot. The coach call. If he doesn't have the mental toughness and the determination to tell Mane, say because of the team we want to play, I want to play Jota and exploit. And if he's scared of doing that, come on, Liverpool are on the path of falling by the wayside.
Those 2 guys don't call the shot, but I call the shot here on the big issue. We'll take a break now. When we return, we shall be concluding with the guest speakers. Of course, on the take, would Liverpool still retain the title? If you're just joining us, this is still the big issue. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still the big issue. As a matter of fact, this has been a very amazing, sublime discussions from both sides, and you can't take it away from the fact that sports is a beautiful, beautiful game. People they look out for their teams, their managers, what they're doing this season, and of course the Premiership is in focus. The best leagues in the world, but the COVID-19 has come into play and almost wanting to ruin the harmony. The fans are no longer at stadiums to watch games again, but we hope and feel as time goes on, things will start getting better, but the competition has not shifted grounds with the way the motivation is building up. So right here, we want to take our last take, of course, have the last takes of whatever they have been talking about from the blast. I would begin with, I'll begin with you. What is your last take with this discussion? Would Liverpool retain the title?
No, they will not retain the title.
Okay.
Down to so many reasons. I've mentioned a whole lot. Yeah. But of course, I think teams will have to just find a way to neutralize Arnold and Robertson, who are their de facto 10s. And of course, there's the issue of fatigue. They brought in Thiago, who they believe is going to be an addition to them, good for them. But of course, I think it's just like putting a square where you don't need a square. Because they have plethora of midfielders from Jorginho, Wijnaldum, Milner, Mr. Utility. You should have worked with these guys. But of course, like I keep saying, the major place they needed to strengthen their team was at the back line and up front. They brought in Diogo Jota, who I think Klopp will not have what it takes to tell these guys at some point, shuffle the guys up front. And he also needs somebody else that will make that man, Firmino, step up his game a bit. Because he doesn't have that player, and he will not entrust Jota to start ahead of Mane and Salah. I think these guys have plateaued already. They've gotten to the peak. There's no other motivation that they will need to want to do something extraordinary. So for me, I think I'm standing by my guns that Liverpool, with what they have at the moment, and putting some square pegs in a round hole, they will not be able to return the title this season.
Thank you very much. Now, with what he finally said, he did say that Liverpool didn't need the signings they had now. The players they had in their squad would have done the job, or at least concluding that Jurgen Klopp probably bowed to pressure with wanting to buy players. How do you end?
Yeah, I'm so happy that he's taking all his time talking about how our team should play, and I'm sure he calls Klopp every time to know what is going to be his next formation, telling us that Jota will not start games. So I don't understand. But truthfully, I've spilled everything here to tell you that we've done our buys the way we wanted the buys to be. We wanted 3 players, we got 4. Not forgetting that Takumi Minamino came in just at the tail end of last season. You understand? So we got our buys. If we needed 3, we got 4. And the 4 have plugged every place. He talked about the defensive line. We have all the players. We have the regulars. MVVD, Gomez.
Trent.
Now watch what he did to Fabinho. Played a wonderful match. To me, he was the man of the match against Chelsea.
Absolutely, he was.
He was man to me. Even the fact that Mane scored 2 goals. We also have a young chap, 18, 6'4". He's called Kumecho, a Dutch guy. He came in and he moved straight to the senior team and the first team. And Klopp has a lot going for him, and he wants to bring that. In the goalkeeper, they brought in a young chap from Brazil who normally trains with the other brother of the Liverpool goalkeeper.
So how do you end?
Understand? So looking at all the buys and all the plays that I've gone through, I think working for one thing, the motivation between the upfront, which you talked about, Salah and Mane trying to drive to make sure they attain excellence. Yes, Liverpool is going to win the league. Okay. Talking about the fact that also the players want to play for the club. Talking about the club factor, and talking about the fact that the owners of the club are seeing the light and saying, okay, we want to own the English league for a long while. That's why they put their money where their mouth is and have bought the right players. All thanks to the sporting director himself, who has done a lot in helping Liverpool to play. There is no way Liverpool will not have a say in this league and probably not win the league. If all the other teams are to go by what we are seeing right now, Liverpool will have a stroll to win the league, even with more than 18 points.
Thank you very much. All right, then, of course, we finally ended this conversation. And before we go, and we have a ritual here, though, to shake hands, but we can't do that now because of what is happening. But you can flip your elbows in the Bluetooth form. Yes, exactly, fantastic. That's it. Thank you very much. Well, of course, follow the conversation on our social media handles at TVC Connect and at TVC News Nigeria. My personal handle is at Marco Tabo on Twitter and Instagram. Engage me with the hashtag The Big Issue. A big shout out to Francis Azuike, and of course, the producer of this extraordinary show. And of course, the camera guys also who have been holding his sway, and those in the control room ensuring the buttons are in the right place for this show to happen. Remember, if the issue is not big enough, Obviously, it has no business here. Till I come your way again, of course, this would always be the big issue.